The beautiful furniture you want gets delivered today. Come into El Dorado Boulevard, a different kind of furniture store.
When you contact a RE/MAX agent to help you buy or sell a home, you expect service that's a little out of the ordinary. After all, RE/MAX agents average more experience and more sales than other agents. So the next time you need outstanding real estate service, call RE/MAX and watch us spring into action. RE/MAX, outstanding agents, outstanding results.
Watch the Fantasy 5 drawing tonight on CBS 4 News at 11, your lottery station.
The first attack has been launched in the war against Iraq. This one, a surgical strike. Cruise missiles and bombs targeting Iraqi leaders and Saddam Hussein.
On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign.
In an Oval Office address last night, President Bush prepared the American people for a conflict that could be longer and more difficult than expected. Meanwhile, hours after the first assault, a defiant Saddam Hussein responded on Iraqi TV and vowed victory. We'll have the latest early this Thursday morning, March 20th, 2003.
From CBS News, this is a special edition of The Early Show, America at War.
Good morning and welcome to The Early Show. I'm Harry Smith along with Renee Seiler and Hannah Storm. Julie Chen is in Kuwait where there's breaking news this morning. U.S. troops have sounded an alarm several times and put on their gas masks after Iraq apparently launched one or more missiles across the border. Julie has taken cover in a U.S. military bunker in the desert. We're happy to report she is safe. We're going to hear from her in just a moment. But let's get to the latest. As we said this morning, Iraq retaliated, firing missiles at U.S. positions in northern Kuwait and Kuwait City. A U.S. missile defense system reportedly shot down at least one of those missiles. The war began with a measured airstrike, U.S. cruise missiles and laser-guided bombs targeting Iraqi leaders, including Saddam Hussein. The U.S. attack rattled Baghdad. Iraqi officials claim there are civilian casualties. President Bush says the operation is intended to defend the world from grave danger. On Iraqi TV, Saddam Hussein called the attack a shameful crime and promised victory.
And as we said a few moments ago, Julie Chen is near the Iraqi border where U.S. troops have been under fire this morning after Iraq apparently launched one or more missiles across that border. She filed this report just moments ago.
For security reasons, I can't reveal where I'm reporting from, but I can tell you that I am with the Marines at a secret air base not very far from the Iraq border. We've been here since about 10 a.m. local time, which is 2 a.m. Thursday morning on the East Coast. We were setting up to broadcast from here live. We were here about 2.5 hours, just finished an interview with the commanding officer of this secret air base when his cell phone went off. He said he had to go. He said, I'll be right there. Don't know who he was talking to. He was calm the whole time, assured us we were safe, smiled, winked at me, said, you're okay, you're in good hands, you'll be all right, Julie. And he walked off. My crew and I continued to set up for the broadcast, and about 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, everyone started screaming, bunker, bunker, bunker. We just grabbed everything and ran towards the bunker. It took us it was like a 3 to 5 minute run from where we were setting up. Once we got in the bunker, we were told to get our chemical suits on, which is what I'm wearing right now. Everyone started putting on their gas masks. We had to basically cover every inch of skin that might be exposed. Hoods on, gas mask on, gloves on, boots that I still have on and will not take off. This is the bunker we were all holed up in with about 100 Marines. We were in there for about 45 minutes. We were under alarm red, which means an air attack is imminent or in progress. While we were in the bunker for 45 minutes, we heard 2 explosions. The military at this hour is not confirming whether or not that was a Scud attack or artillery. They're not saying anything yet, but the Marines are telling us better safe than sorry. We stayed in there again for 45 minutes when all of a sudden we heard all clear. Everyone laughed, took off their gas masks, kind of breathed a sigh of relief. I have to say that all the Marines kept us calm, kept me calm the entire time. This is what they do. This is what they're trained to do. About 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes max of having this gas mask off, of standing down, suddenly we heard the alarms go again. Everyone was screaming to get back in the bunker, suit up again, which they call, I think, mop level. I don't even know, but it's a mop level where you have to have every inch of your skin covered, and it was nerve-wracking. We stayed in the bunker again for probably another 20 minutes. Right now, we have been told to stand down, but we have been told we have to keep these chemical suits on. Our gas masks at our side the entire time. We're allowed to not wear the gloves, but we have to have them with us, and to drink plenty of water. We will report as soon as we can, but I know that the military wants us to get back in the bunker and get to a safe location as soon as possible. We'll report more when we can. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, and we hope to hear more from Julie Chen in a bit. Meanwhile, CBS News correspondent Erin Moriarty is standing by live in Kuwait City with the latest. Erin, what's going on there?
Well, as you just heard from Julie, that calm that lasted for days here in Kuwait is officially over. We have gone through 2 alerts, and I think those alerts really took people on the streets by surprise. I've been here for over a week, and most of the people who live here in Kuwait were not expecting anything and have been very calm. We also know that U.S. troops along Route 80, which goes to the Kuwait-Iraq border, were also put on alert and were asked to don their gas masks and their chemical suits. There have been times that we have done that as well during these 2 alerts. What I can report right now, what we are hearing from the U.S. military is that at about 12:40 p.m., that's our time in Kuwait, it's 4:45 New York time, an Iraqi surface-to-surface missile was intercepted by a Patriot missile over Kuwait. This was not a Scud missile. It has been described as a hybrid, that it was modified from a surface-to-air to a surface-to-surface. Now, one U.S. colonel described it as an Al-Samud 2 missile. Now, we cannot confirm that, but if that is true, then it is one of the missiles that Iraq was ordered to destroy by the UN. As of March 17th, 72 of those Al-Samud missiles have been destroyed, but 30 to 50 are thought to still be left.
All right, CBS's Erin Moriarty in Kuwait City. We'll check back with you in just a bit. With more, here's Harry.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Now for the latest on the U.S.-led military assault on Iraq, let's go to CBS News national security correspondent David Martin, who is at the Pentagon this morning. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Harry. U.S. officials now confirm that last night's raid on Baghdad was in fact an attempt to kill not just members of the Iraqi leadership, but Saddam Hussein himself. However, Saddam's subsequent appearance on television, in which he made an apparent reference to the attack at dawn Baghdad time, would seem to offer fairly convincing evidence that he survived the attack.
You can see the explosions on the outskirts of Baghdad. Cruise missiles fired from ships in the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf, striking a bunker believed to be holding senior Iraqi leaders, possibly even Saddam Hussein himself. The cruise missiles, about 3 dozen in all, were followed by an F-117 stealth fighter dropping a 2,000-pound bunker buster bomb. The entire strike was put together in about 5 hours after the CIA picked up intelligence on the location of the Iraqi leaders, and President Bush ordered the military to conduct the attack.
And now Saddam apparently has ordered his military to retaliate. There have been reports of 3 surface-to-surface missiles fired from Iraq into Kuwait. One of them, as Aaron said, intercepted by a Patriot missile. Also, a small Cessna aircraft tried to fly from southern Iraq into Kuwait, but crashed. There's no indication yet that any of these attacks involve chemical or biological weapons, but small planes are known to be one of the methods that the Iraqis had developed for dispensing chemical and biological agents. And finally, there are very recent reports of explosions outside the airbase in Qatar, which is serving as the headquarters for the generals who are commanding this invasion of Iraq. Our CBS people at that airbase are currently in the bunkers and unable to report. So now U.S. commanders have to decide whether to stick with the current timetable, which had the main assault on Iraq beginning later this week, or do they advance the time schedule in response to these latest attacks? Right now, every indication is that they're going to stick with the original timetable, but that could change if U.S. commanders feel that they are losing the initiative to Saddam. Harry?
David Martin at the Pentagon this morning. Thank you very much. That first launch toward Baghdad came on orders from Rear Admiral John Kelly on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. CBS News correspondent Cynthia Bowers is on the phone from the Lincoln right now.
War began in the wee hours here in the Persian Gulf when at 3:40 a.m. Admiral John Kelly on board the USS Lincoln got orders to launch the attack. The attack began on the battle groups. The first missiles, Tomahawks and T-LAMs, were fired from the USS Milius. Reports say all but one hit their designated targets. Part of the plan has always been to weaken Saddam Hussein's air defenses with missile attacks first, then launch fighters from the three carrier groups in the Gulf, the Kitty Hawk, the Constellation, and the USS Lincoln. And flights began launching this morning around 8 o'clock. That's midnight Eastern. They've continued throughout the day. The fighters, the F-18 Hornet and Super Hornet and the F-14 Tomcats, are now flying fully loaded with air-to-air missiles and a full complement of laser-guided or GPS-guided bombs. Pilots returning from the initial mission say they are, for the most part, even though they're flying as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom, they're still primarily patrolling the southern no-fly zone as they've been doing for months. They do acknowledge that it's unusual to fly over the same land they know so well and now know that it's a war zone. They are equipped with the highest technology possible, unforeseen a decade ago, but none of them are cocky. When they get back in, they say, "We made it back today." Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, on board the USS Lincoln in the Persian Gulf.
The first cruise missile and bomb attack could be heard and seen all over Baghdad. Reporter David Chater of Sky News was watching early this morning as it happened.
Just before dawn was breaking, it was still dark and heavy leaden sky. We heard jets overhead. We ran to our positions on the balcony, and we could see flashes of light, trace of fires, like sort of golden snowflakes appearing in the clouds above us. Everybody was on the alert. Then we heard the air raid sirens, and then a lot of Akak fire started going up. Tracer Akak fire, not from all over the city, but just towards the south. That's where we could hear some explosions. It was impossible to see exactly what was happening to the south of Baghdad because the sky was so leaden, and they also set fire to some oil supplies near a refinery in the south of Baghdad. So everything was getting very obscure, but I heard strike after strike, bomb after bomb. I assumed they were, but I couldn't see them. All I knew was that something was happening, but not the huge shock and awe, not the huge number of cruise missiles that we expected to hit the command and control centers here in Baghdad. That was the first indication that this was something very different.
Less than an hour after U.S. forces launched the first air strike against Iraq, President Bush took to the airwaves to address the nation. CBS News correspondent Bill Plant is at the White House. Good morning, Bill.
Harry, good morning. That message last night, which Mr. Bush delivered from the Oval Office, had themes which were intended both for the American people and the Iraqi people. He told Americans that this war could be longer and more difficult than people have generally been led to believe. And he had some information that he wanted the Iraqis to hear too, and that is that the U.S. will do everything possible to avoid civilian casualties. He made a point that the U.S. believes Saddam Hussein is putting troops in civilian areas, thereby suggesting, of course, that he is an evil man. He also told the Iraqis that the U.S. has no ambitions in Iraq, and you should read that as oil. So the president is saying that contrary to much opinion in the world, the U.S. is not after Iraq's oil. This morning we're told he was in the Oval Office at 6, got an update on On what had happened overnight, we're expecting to hear more later. Harry?
Bill planned at the White House this morning. Thanks so much. Now here's Renee.
All right, thanks, Harry. Time for a quick check of the nation's weather. A few flurries or showers are likely across the Colorado Rockies, and some of that huge snowfall should start melting around Denver. Here now is an early look at what's going on in your area.
Hi there, good morning. I'm Pamela Wright. Very warm and humid starting out this morning. Temps already near 80 degrees with a really strong south wind and a tornado watch in effect for the Panhandle. So a lot going on around the state. We will warm up to 88 degrees for our high today. A lot of summery sun, but also spotty showers popping up later. Warm and breezy tonight, 75 an overnight low, and a thunderstorm chance that will linger into our steamy weekend. See you.
And coming up next, what does the start of the war mean for security here at home?
And much more on the opening rounds of the war with Iraq. This is The Early Show on CBS.
These are nice, but I saw them at Four Eyes for less.
They're not the same. These are X-ray glasses.
X-ray. Can I interest you in something else?
Four Eyes. Find the brands, find the prices, lose the attitude.
January